Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogrammer.com. Oh man, did I release what I thought was an innocent video and got a lot of hate for it, got a lot of comments for it. I'm glad for this though, not because I want to just create controversy, but because I think this is a really important issue to address. So I am going to rehash, somewhat double down. I'm not going to say double down right off the bat here because I don't want to just charge people's opinions that have already been formed or biases against what I'm about to say now. But what I want to do with this video is clarify something and clarify my points and what I was really trying to communicate in my previous video, because apparently I didn't do a good enough job. Now, the video I'm talking about is this video on introversion and extroversion are bullshit. Okay, and yeah, strong words there, but I want, and here's where I'm coming from, okay? I want you guys to understand what I'm trying to do here and what exactly it is specifically that I'm saying. I do think that a lot of people saw that and did not watch the whole video, because I rewatched the video a couple times just to make sure I was being pretty clear, and I thought I was being pretty clear, but I can see what I said being construed as an attack against introverts. And you have to understand a few things in order to understand why this is not an attack against introverts and what I'm really trying to accomplish here. So I started off the video talking about that I'm against the idea of labels, and I am against the idea of labels. I am very much against anything that would be a limiting belief. Anytime we say about ourselves, I am this, okay, we do create limiting beliefs for ourselves. Now, that's where my viewpoint comes on introversion and extroversion. I did a video a while back where I took one of those personality tests, and I think it is somewhat beneficial to see where you are reading right now. It's sort of like getting a blood test and looking at your levels and the difference between saying, okay, this is where my blood levels are right now, or checking your body fat or checking your weight, and saying this is what I am, right? So if I stepped on the scale and I checked my body fat and it was like, hey, John, you're fat, I wouldn't identify myself as fat. I would say I'm currently overweight. I'm currently this, right? When I look at a personality test, I say I'm currently that. Now, I know that some things that people think are fixed. I would encourage you to read a really good book called Mindset by, I think it's Carol Dweck, I believe. I read a lot of books, so I may be mixing up the names, but this is going to be a long video, by the way, if you haven't figured that out, but I would encourage you to watch this to the end if you are especially triggered by the introvert-extrovert video that I did before. Again, watch that video, please, if you need some context here, but I'm pretty much going to rehash a lot of that, but explain it a little bit further. So the very first thing I'm going to do is talk about psychology here, and I called modern psychology bullshit in the comments section. I told some people to fuck off. I want to be clear about why I did that and what I'm talking about. Not that I'm trying to justify my actions, not that I'm right all the time. Maybe I shouldn't have told people to fuck off. I don't know, but that's what I did, and that was my response. So here's why. Let me tell you about my thoughts on psychology. Okay, I'm about probably as well read on modern psychology as anyone I know. Now, I know that there's probably some PhD researchers that have read more on psychology than me, but you know, I have read probably, I want to say a few hundred books on psychology in my lifetime. So I'm very aware. It's very rare that someone presents a study that I have not seen and looked at the results of or read in some book. And so I understand psychology, and I am not per se against psychology. Okay. This is what I do on this channel. I mean, okay, I'm not a psychologist. Let's, legal reasons, whatever. I'm not giving psychological advice, but for the most part, this channel and what I do and what I focus on is about controlling your own psychology. So cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, these are things that I espouse and that I teach on this channel. So when I say psychology is bullshit, what I am saying is that the 100% belief in what PhDs say about psychology and how your mind works and your limitations is bullshit. It doesn't mean there's not useful stuff there. I use it all the time. I am constantly absorbing information, adapting and changing my beliefs and changing and testing things on myself in the real world and on other people that I coach, honestly, in order to find out the truth. And that's what my main objective is the truth. And I will tell you, some people said, oh, John, if your worldview does not coincide with accepted scientific research in psychology, then you reject the accepted scientific research. You're damn fucking right I do. And I'll tell you why. Because everything from health to fitness, I mean, okay, from a fitness perspective, again, not to brag here, but I should not be able to do what I'm doing, right? I'm running like 40 miles a week. I'm eating 1 meal a day. I'm lifting 3 times a week, okay, and on a pretty low calorie diet. And I am not losing muscle mass. I gained 5 pounds of muscle, just had a DEXA scan and tested it. The guy at the DEXA scan was like, holy shit, how is this possible? And I said, well, you know, medically this shouldn't be possible. But here's the thing. And I will wrap this around and we'll get to introversion and extroversion, I promise you. But the point is this: I hear some shit, or I read it from a book, I see a health study, I see a weightlifting study, I see a psychological study or test, and then I test it on myself in the real world, and I see what actually sticks and what actually works. And I do believe that a lot of the psychological studies where they test groups of people, that they have merit, but they have merit in the group. And what I'm interested in is the outliers. What I'm interested in is the why and what will actually happen. And I believe that each one of us can be grouped into the herd mentality in many things, but we can also overcome that. And that's where exceptionalism forms. That's where we become accepted. That's where we gain control over ourselves, and we don't become mediocre. We don't accept mediocrity. Okay, so mediocrity, whatever, okay, but that's my point here, is that from a this really should be 3 videos, but from a psychological perspective, right, I'm a big proponent of Jungian psychology, right? I have a lot of good things to say about, well, I was going to say Freud, but Freud, yes, Freud, and there are a lot of different really good stuff that I've gained from psychology. So I'm not against psychology per se. Am I against what I call it, psychiatry? Yeah, psychiatrics? Yes, I am. I am against medicinal for the most part, right? And that's fine. You can disagree with me on that. That's cool. It's cool, but that I'm going to hold firm on. I'm against that completely, because I believe that every single person that I have talked to, that I've coached, and I've coached hundreds of people, thousands of people really over this time, and myself, have benefited from cognitive and behavioral therapy much more than any medicine. Now, let's not even broach. I shouldn't have even broached that subject, because there's going to be a whole flood of hate and stuff with that. But that's fine. Let's get into some of the details here. So I want to talk about introversion, extroversion, and labels. So I believe that, again, to make it very clear, labels, okay? When we talk about labels, when we label people, when we self-identify with things, so just like I said at the beginning, where I said if I step on a scale and I say I am fat versus I'm currently overweight, those are very different things. And we need to have labels, we need to classify things in life, otherwise the world would be a whole fucking wreck, right? So we have to have words like introversion and extroversion, because they describe something, a phenomenon that we see in the world. Unfortunately, you can see the destructive association with labels, right? And you can see this in American politics very clearly. The right and the left. These are false labels, and people coagulate, they group around these labels, and it causes a huge amount of destruction, because it stops free thinking. And what it does is it causes you to identify very strongly, most people do, with one of these sides, and there's really, you can really take things from multiple philosophies, right, that seem to be at ends and disagree with each other. And that's where I come to with sort of all personality traits and things, especially like introversion and extroversion. And so I want to tell you self-identified introverts, okay, which is that me? I suppose that's definitely been me in the past, and you could classify me as either way. But I want to tell you self-identified introverts, again, I'm not using this in a derogatory sense, that I'm not hating against you. I'm not saying extroverts are better than you. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that you have the dynamic capability as a human being to be on that spectrum of introversion and extroversion, different points depending on different contexts, right? What do I mean by context? Different situations in life, right? And also in the timeline of your life. So what I'm saying is that you should be pleased by this because I'm not putting you in the box that you've put yourself into. And I understand, and here's the thing. I have read all the psychology on introversion and extroversion. Believe me, okay? I study personality tests. Believe me, I've taken every single one of them that is available, including DISC profiles, INT, the Briggs-Myers, all of that stuff, okay? And I'm not coming from I'm not coming from ignorance here. I've read all the psychology on it. I've read the books about introversion. Trust me. But there is sort of this movement for coddling the idea of introversion and saying, oh, introverts are just as good as extroverts. And I don't have any I totally agree that the aspect of introversion is just as important, in fact, possibly more so. I will even give you guys that point than extroversion. I believe that people that self-identify as introverts in life probably produce more and accomplish more than people that self-identify as extroverts, right? I mean, think about this, right? If we just were to take broad characterizations, that blabby salesperson or marketing person who bullshits and who gets along with everyone and goes out and drinks and parties and is the life of the party, right? Or in high school, you can identify with those jocks that have those attributes that you would clearly identify as an extrovert. They do less shit that's important with their life, right? Whereas people that self-identify as an introvert probably accomplish more. Not to knock extroverts now, right? Because that's not the intention either. But I don't even like to use those labels. I'm using those labels right now so that you can understand what I'm saying, right? Because it's so deeply ingrained in your brain that you're an introvert or an extrovert, and so much of modern psychology and modern society wants to encourage this viewpoint that it's fucking limiting you. And that's what I'm concerned with. I love you, okay? I honestly, sincerely, from the depth of my heart, even when I tell you to fuck off, and you know it on my channel, because I'm like, fuck, come over. I would say have a beer with me, but I really don't drink beer. But come over and let's fucking have a coffee, and man, I'll give you a hug, and we'll talk about this, right? I honestly, in my heart, sincerely, I do not have any kind of ill will towards you guys. I love you guys, right? I do these videos for you, honestly, seriously. So I respect and I honor those of you that have said, John is a fucking crackpot on this issue, but I like the rest of his content and it's awesome and he just needs to be educated on this. I could totally respect that, but I want to also tell you at the same time, fuck off. And I mean it in the most loving way when I say, look, I know you don't think I know what I'm talking about, but trust me, I do. I know you think that there's been this sort of story that's been formed that said, oh, John, well, John, he's always been this extrovert, but he was shy. And shy and introversion are not the same thing. He overcame his shyness. He overcame his, quote, introvertedness and became this extrovert, and he wants everyone else to do it too. He thinks everyone else can do this too, and it's a good thing, and he's really doing a disservice, and he's insulting introverts. I totally get that storyline. It did not escape me, right? I mean, some of you think that I'm just so fucking dense, I don't get this stuff. I mean, and again, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I will for a second here, and it's not to brag, but if you think that I'm espousing wisdom in a lot of other areas from computer science and software development, which I'm doing less of that honestly now, but wisdom in a lot of other areas to improve your life, and I've got the testimonials and people are successful. I don't have any kind of self-doubt about that. But if you're thinking that, and then you think that I'm just fucking crazy and stupid on this one point, I just don't get it. You got to kind of recheck it. Like maybe you really don't like my message. Maybe you really don't agree. You don't have to agree with me on every point. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, if you think I'm just fucking bullshit, you're just here for the show. That's cool. But if you're gaining some benefit and some wisdom from the things I'm sharing with you in these videos, and I know that a lot of you are, then I just encourage you to suspend your disbelief for a second here and recheck your beliefs on this. Now, Have I been wrong on things in the past? Am I wrong on things? Do I still have a long way of personal growth myself to find and discover more of the truth of myself and others and the world? Of course. But I will tell you on this introversion extroversion thing, and more the bigger thing here, the bigger issue here is the labels. Okay, on labels and changing your identity and how important that is and how that affects all the aspects of your life and success in general. I know my shit here. I'm telling you, I know my shit here, right? I've been able to help transform people's lives. I've transformed my own life in these ways, in ways that people didn't think was possible. Again, not to toot my own horn, not to brag here. You know, if you're following me, there's a reason why. If not, then it's cool. I mean, you can unsubscribe. Like, I'm not going to be offended. And I don't want just cheerleaders, but I want you to use your fucking brain and understand. Don't just discredit me. Don't just say, oh, John is bullshit about this, because there's some real truth here, and I would love you to grasp onto that. So, to reiterate this one more time, you people, is that offensive when I say you people? It doesn't matter, because you understand what I'm saying. If you self-identify as an introvert and you're triggered by my video and you're triggered by this video, I love you, bro. I do. I honestly do. I know it sounds a little weird when I say that, but I do. I sincerely, I don't disvalue you because you self-identify yourself as an introvert. I just want to, and I don't want to break you. I don't want to say your introversion is bad. Okay? What I do want to do is I want to say this. Look, this is the spectrum of introversion and extroversion, right? This is a full dynamic human experience. And if you're over here on the introversion side and you're reaping all the benefits for there because that's your strong point and that's the easy place for you to go, whether it be social conditioning or somewhat innate, I believe that less of it's innate and more of it's social conditioning, okay? But if you're on this side of the spectrum and you're like, oh, introverts are awesome, and you're reading all these books and you're like, Einstein was an introvert and all these people were introverts and they're fucking awesome and I don't need to be an extrovert at all and it doesn't feel right to me and I'll never be that or anything like that, and I totally gain all my energy from self-reflection and some alone time, and I understand the difference. So I'll sidetrack here to say, do I understand what psychologists say is the difference between being shy and being introverted? Believe me, I've heard it so many fucking times. I totally understand it. I'm saying they're wrong. Yes, I'm taking a stance and I'm saying they're wrong because what I'm trying to communicate here is that is still a labeling. And it's just like this. This isn't the best example, but I will give you this one here, which is that it's like sleep, okay? If you said, I mean, some people like to sleep and some people like to be awake, right? And if you said, man, sleeping is where it's at, fucking sleep. Sleep is awesome. If I could sleep all day, I'd sleep all day. You'd be missing a lot of the human experience just sleeping, and you'd be missing all of it. Same thing, if you said, oh, I like to be awake all the time, okay, you'd be missing the sleep. So like, you need both of these things. And as human beings, right, and here, we want to go to modern psychology and all the tests with monkeys, right? What happens when monkeys are essentially, and if you follow this, you'll know what I'm talking about, but they've done tests, of course, right, on both sides of the spectrum, on monkeys that were never touched and never had human interaction and basically didn't have any kind of the extroversion, and they die. All right? And monkeys that are just constantly stimulated and don't ever have any alone time, they fucking die too. So as a human being, right, maybe you're a little bit more resilient than a fucking monkey because you have control over yourself. But if you're just on the introversion side of the spectrum, which is where I sat for a long time, this is why it breaks my heart, guys, that you think I'm attacking you, because this was me. And it's still, I go through periods of introversion. I mean, fuck, I am here in my office most of the time alone, not talking to a human soul, and I fucking like it, right? I mean, but I also like to go out and fucking party and go meet people and go out to a club and stuff and go socialize and go to a conference, right? I love that as well. But for the most part, most of my life was spent in that introversion state. And if I didn't have my ability to go there and to really get in there, I would not be able to produce what I do. I would not be able to be productive. I'd not be able to do these videos or accomplish anything that worthwhile in life because I have to go away to recharge. But I also have to go and get out to recharge, right? And I've recognized that about myself, and I've recognized that, and some of you are gonna call me an ambivert and say, well, that's because you're an ambivert. No, it's because I'm a fucking human being, and you are too, okay? And I know that everyone has told you it's okay to be an introvert, and everyone has told you, I mean, the extrovert, I'm saying this to you guys that self-identify as introverts because I don't see any extroverts complaining, because apparently the extroverts either don't give a shit or they didn't feel like I was attacking them, but I did a little bit here. I attacked on the quote extroverts, right? But I'm saying this because primarily to you guys, because you are the guys and gals that society, that everyone has told you you're an introvert, or told you, maybe not specifically, but through books and through language and through the way that society is shaped, that you're an introvert. And that's okay, and that's just how you are. And it's like they've sort of denied you the rest of the spectrum. And I know that some of you have like tried to be extroverts, and or tried to go into the extroversion range, and it didn't feel right, and it didn't feel comfortable for you, and it felt draining, and all this shit. And that was me, 100%. Believe me, however dorky, nerdy, shy, whatever, and again, I know I'm associating those things again, and it's gonna insult some of you, but they are associated, okay? Because usually those things drive to the introversion spectrum. So let me put it this way. I'm going on multiple tangents, but we're gonna try and tie all these things together because this is really, really important, which is basically this, okay? So let's talk about, I think, that the propensity to be shy, some things that happen in your life, the things that make you afraid or make you shy, right? Especially, right, a lot of you guys are computer science majors, you're programmers, right? You're probably pushed into this mold of introvert. I mean, think about it this way, right? Here's another argument, or another good way to think about this. What if you think that it's a DNA, it's a natural quality of a human being that they're either introverted or extroverted, and that's like just genetics, personality, it has nothing to do with environment or nurturing, or very little to do with that, then do you really think that there's a positive correlation between, like, and so strong of a positive correlation between people becoming programmers and being introverts? Do you think, I mean, you see what I'm saying here? It's like saying your genetics determine that you're going to be a programmer already because you're an introvert. It doesn't make sense. It's much more likely, and again, this is me, so I'm being raw with you. I'm telling you my own history here, and it may not match yours, but if you look back in your history, for those of you that classify yourself as introvert, were you bullied? Were you picked on? Were you generally shy? Were you kind of awkward and a misfit in some ways? That was me, okay? And that I can tell you from my own introspection and from a lot of years of self-reflection and from a lot of opening up my mind and perspective and changing my life in a lot of ways, that those things, being bullied, being picked on, being rejected, being the social misfit, being awkward in social situations, like those things is what pushed me more into that introversion spectrum and made me self-identify as an introvert. Again, can you be more on the balance of introvert than extrovert? Yeah, and that's totally fine, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, for most of my life now, I am there, right? Because like I said, I'm locked in this fucking office. I'm recording videos. I'm working hard, like 10 hours a day. I don't go out and socialize as much as I should, okay? And sometimes when I do, it's draining because I need to get back and do my shit, right? But that, like, I like to read a book. I like to, chill out and be with myself and be with my thoughts. I'm a fucking philosopher, right? Basically, right? So that's all introversion type of shit, okay? So I totally get that, but I think that that's what ends up pushing us in that direction. And that might be a good thing, but I don't want you to stay there and only live there. I'm totally cool with you calling that the place that you feel comfortable in home. That's cool. But I also want you to be comfortable with the other side of the spectrum, because, and here's why. Again, you can say, oh, John is just drawing this from his own personal experience and saying that everyone else is like this, but I've coached a lot of people, right? I've helped a lot of other people to expand their spectrum, to expand their range, to be more dynamic. And I believe being dynamic in multiple areas is really, really important, right? Again, I've talked about this. You can check out my videos on masculinity and femininity, and I've said on the same thing. A lot of you are like, you don't understand that either because you're so much like polarized. Like you believe that the world is divided like this. It's a false dichotomy, and it's the same thing as if if I came at you and I was just presenting masculine, you wouldn't even be watching videos, because a lot of what I'm doing when I'm creating these videos, as much as I hate to admit it, is it's a feminine energy, right? I mean, it's helping, it's sharing, it's caring. I said I fucking love you. I love you, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm saying that a lot because I really want you to understand where my heart is coming from, but also to understand that I'm not a fucking idiot, and that I'm not just some hopeful heart. I just want to spread my love and help people, but I'm really ignorant and I'm causing more destructive harm than I am good. I am fully cognizant of what I'm doing, okay? But I'm saying this a lot because I honestly want you guys to understand that I do not have animosity towards you. I do not hate introversion. I hate labels, okay? This is the thing. And so I think I've tied up most of these threads, okay? And yes, this is a long video, but I want to rehash a couple of things and just kind of tie this all together here. So what is the core, the quintessential piece of my message here? It's just simply this. Look, it's okay, in different seasons of your life, different times in your life, it's okay to be on one side of the spectrum more so than the other, okay? If you want to self-identify as an introvert, I would ask you to take one small step for me, which is to say, right now in my life, I feel introverted. I'm more drawn towards being introverted than extroverted. That would be at least one small step. A bigger step would be say, look, for whatever reason, I identify and my strength, right? I'm a tenor. I'm an alto, right? I am on the side of the introvert spectrum pretty deeply. The extrovert spectrum is really hard. It's hard for me to go that direction. But I'd like to expand my range. I'd like to see how far I could go in that range. Because the thing is, and I can shift between that range, right? I am a very dynamic person in many ways. Some of you, that's why you're attracted to me, is because you know that I'm dynamic, right? And again, I'm not trying to toot my horn, not trying to brag when I say this kind of stuff. I'm trying to be brutally honest with you, which is that I am very dynamic in many ways. I have friends that are drug dealers, literally, like losers in life. I have friends that are billionaires, right? I have friends along the range and identify with them in different ways, and my personality is dynamic in those ways to interact with those people, as well as my spectrum of introversion, extroversion, masculine, feminine, right? A lot of these things, it's not even balance, it's the ability to go a different direction, right? I can go and I could probably be a pastor and not use the fucking F-bomb, right? Let's go away from that. Actually, that's a big example. But what I'm saying, if you get what I'm saying, is that I could be the most pious person, or I could be rough and hardcore, like you don't want to fuck with this guy, but I can change that range, okay? And that's a valuable attribute in life. And it's because the reason why I'm fluid, okay, is because I don't self-identify with any label. Now, as much as I can, right? I'm human, I have frails, I have weaknesses. Believe me, there are still things that are stuck in my identity that will not get unstuck, that I'm working on, and that I can't even see at this point. But every time I identify one of these things, right, it's like it's like using a roller on your muscles, like releasing that tension point. I find those tension points in my psychology, and I say, yeah, it doesn't need to be contracted all the time, but it shouldn't be loose all the time. Your muscles should be able to do both, right? And that's the same, if you understand what I'm saying about the physiology. If you don't, that's fine. But my point is just simply this, like, expand your range, man. Like, it's cool. Like, again, I'm not attacking people that self-identify as introverts. I'm just attacking this concept because I feel like the concept is destructive, right? And I'm one of you, right? I'm not just some guy that was pretending to be an introvert and then suddenly discovered that once he overcame his shyness and wasn't afraid anymore, that he was an extrovert, okay? I am with you on this. I just will not apply this identity to myself, and I totally believe it's context-driven. I guess there's a few more points to wrap up here. One of them is the context-driven point of this, which is that I have seen people, and you know people, and I said it in the first video, but I didn't make it very clear that they self-identify as introverts, and for every purpose that you can find in life, they seem to be an introvert, except for that one little thing, right? And I would see this, believe me, I was heavy into the nerd culture, okay? I was really fucking heavy into the nerd culture when I was not a confident person, not self-confident at all, and not what someone would label as an extrovert at all, when I didn't have any ability in the extroversion spectrum, I played like WoW or Lord of the Rings Online, and I ran a guild. And in that virtual world, I was an extrovert motherfucker, you better believe it. And some of you are like that. You've just got to find the right context, and you know that it's true, right? And when I played Magic the Gathering, right, again, and I saw this with kids that you would see these kids at these Magic tournaments, and for the most part, they would be so introverted, or they would be, that's how they would appear. And then again, I know you guys are saying, oh, you're confusing with shyness. We'll get to that. I'm going to get to that last point one more time to hit that home. But I would see these kids that in that environment, in that context, they would be social butterflies. They'd be, and you'd see they're king of the hill. I mean, in Magic tournaments, right, there was this pecking order, and the dude that was like totally in every other area of his life. Again, I'm not trying to attach introversion with loser, but he was, and he was a loser in many other areas of his life, right? He was the social butterfly, the king of the hill, like highly respected in this particular thing. You see it in chess tournaments, you see this in all kinds of nerd culture and in all kinds of stuff like that, right? But that just, the only reason why I'm saying that point is, again, I know some of you are going to perceive this as attack. I'm trying to disarm you here, but the reason why I'm saying that is because introversion, that spectrum, it's okay. The video, this is the first, I actually made a video so long that it cut off. So what I'm saying is that introversion is so dependent on that context, okay? So one last issue here, okay? And I want to address this. Again, this one, you guys aren't gonna like. It's cool, it's cool though, it's cool. A lot of people, this is a self-examination question that you have to ask yourself. A lot of people, I saw this in the comments, are self-justifying a tendency towards introversion and a labeling of themselves as introversion as an escape, right? It's a way to victimize. It's not victimize is too strong of a word, but it's a way to escape the responsibility of getting over your fears. It's a way to say, it's an excuse, okay? It's a way to validate things that you might need to work on in life, right? So it's not everyone, okay? It's not everyone. But it was certainly me, okay? And it is a lot of you that are in very much denial of this. I'm sorry, but this is the truth, okay? A lot of you, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm an introvert, because you don't want to overcome your fear. It's hard to overcome it's hard to do things that are uncomfortable. Man, it is fucking hard. The first time I went out and started to really overcome this, right? It's the first time I fucking shot video on the street, man. It is hard to overcome this stuff, and you're like, it doesn't even feel comfortable. I don't even like it. I don't even get any joy from it. I don't even get any excitement from it. First time I got on stage, same thing, right? It's hard. So it's easier to say, I'm just an introvert and that's how I am, and this is okay, and here's a bunch of books that support this and say it's awesome. And I encourage you to read those books. It's good. It's awesome to be able to go on the left side of the introversion spectrum and be more introverted. It's good. It's good to do that. But if you're using it as a crutch, if you're using it as a way to not make yourself a more dynamic human being, if you're using it as a way to escape some of the challenges and difficulties in life, and there are a lot, I mean, man, some of these things, like, it's easier to say, it's easier to face rejection in life and to say introversion and shyness are not the same thing, right? There was a gentleman that commented on the thread, well-meaning, probably an awesome guy, I'd love to talk to him, but he was like, I'm 19, like, I'm buff, I'm not afraid to talk to people, and I'm self-confident and all this shit going for me, okay? But I don't want to go out and talk to people and socialize. Bull fucking shit. You don't have the self-confidence or self-esteem that you could have, because again, it doesn't mean that every night you're out partying and hanging out with friends that you don't like alone time. Majority of the time, right? If given the choice, I'm going to choose to not go out and party, and I'm going to choose to have the alone time because it's valuable to me, because I like it, and I'd rather read a book, and I'd rather like get shit done, okay? But I also can go the other place, and it took some time for me that was against my nature. It was against what I was, whether you believe it's DNA, which I seriously doubt it, or behavioral, it was against that, but I adapted to it, and now I can thrive in that environment. Now I can be the ball of the, what is it, the social butterfly. I hate that term, but I can be out there and be that person and gain some energy from that at first. But it took some time for me to I'm trying to think of the way that the adaptation that occurs. Like if you've ever started running. Okay, so here's a good one. This is a long ass video. I appreciate you guys sticking with me here. You're very interested in what I'm saying if you're sticking for this long. But take running. If you started running, okay, you might like go and run for half a mile because you're not even going to make a fucking mile. All right, and you might say, "I'm not a runner. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. How does someone run a fucking marathon?" That was me before I ran a fucking marathon, okay? But if you keep running, and you keep running, and you go a little bit further, and you make it a mile, and you train yourself, and then pretty soon you get to this point, I know it seems so impossible, but you get to this point and you're like, man, I fucking enjoy running a little bit, okay? It might not be your thing, right? You might say, well, you know what? I can see how I can enjoy running, but I'd still rather read a book. And that's cool. You make that choice. It's your life. You make your choices. But don't say, hey, I'm not an extrovert, or extroversion is not for me, or it's uncomfortable, and use that as something to hide behind because you're afraid of facing your fears. What I want from you is this. This is all I want from you, okay? What I want from you is this, is I want you to be able to go that direction, to actually achieve some level of mastery in that direction of the extroversion, so that, and to face all those fears, right? For you guys that, are afraid to talk to girls and all this stuff, and afraid to go out and socialize, and people make you nervous, and I'm always afraid of what people think of me, and social anxiety, and all of that stuff. I want you to master that, okay? So that you've got that knocked off, so that you can decide where you want to sit at any time. Because then you can go either way, because you are not free until you have eliminated your limitations, right? Then you can make a choice, right? If you have the range, truly have the range, you've truly overcome these fears, and you're not using this as a crutch, and you're not hiding behind the identity of introversion, and you can go to this side of the spectrum, and you can go to this side of the spectrum, and you say, man, you know what? I still prefer to spend 90% of my time here, honestly, right? That's cool, totally cool, because that's what I'm doing too. I know it might not seem like that because you're watching my YouTube videos and like, oh man, this guy must be the fucking life of the party all the time, or you're like, he's just a fucking douchebag. It doesn't matter, but that's what I have that range, and I'm not out, I guarantee you, I am not out on weekends. I am mostly reading a book, or like studying, or doing something, or working on my stuff. But I go out every once in a while. So 9 out of 10 times, I'm probably turning down the invitation to go out and socialize, right? Maybe I should actually be upping that. I really should, probably, to be in a more healthy balance for myself. But because I have the range, I can make the choice. If you don't have the range, you can't make the choice. What's happening is that this is easier, and this feels comfortable, and society is backing you, and all these books are coming out that are telling you it's okay. And so you're not actually making a choice. You're just accepting the way that you are. You're just being pushed into this path, and you don't know. And when every time you try to go upstream, it feels uncomfortable, like running for the first time in your life, and you're like, oh fuck, it must not be for me. That's what's happening. So all I'm saying here is this. Love you guys, right? Like I said, how many times am I gonna say this? Build the range, overcome the fears, self-examine, see if you've got I don't care if you ever use the extrovert. Maybe you're like, fuck it, you know what? I've conquered all these fears, I'm okay. And there's the question of whether you really conquered them, because there is a lot of shit that I thought I conquered on this side of the range that I just managed to grit my way through, and I didn't really conquer it. But once I really found my running, once I ran a full marathon, I was a runner, okay? and it changed, right? I fully conquered that aspect. Again, same thing here. Then you can decide, then you can sit where you are. And what you're gonna find, some of you will find that when you do this and you have this range, that you're gonna actually fall a little bit more here. Or maybe in the middle, or different points in your life, and that's me, right? This is me again, it's right? Maybe some point in my life I'll be a lot more over here, right? Or over here, like it depends, like there's ebbs and flows, there's cycles, there's seasons of life, right? There's choices. I want you to have as many choices as possible. That's all I'm trying to do for you, man, is I'm trying to give you as many choices as possible. So I hope you take this message right. Honestly, like I really do care for you guys, even the ones I tell you to fuck off. I do. Because if you come over, we'll have dinner together. You come over to my house, man, we'll go lift some weights together. We'll go for a run. I would treat you like my best fucking buddy, all right? Even though I don't fucking know you. because I do care for you, right? And like, I don't even care if you call me a fucking idiot or say I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm still gonna, you're still welcome, all right? Not everyone can come over to my house, sorry. Like, there's only limited capacity. But if you're in, you know, San Diego and we can stop by and do some coffee or something, like, I know I'm sending this invitation out to the fucking world, but honestly, like, you know, as much as I can, and it happens all the time, right? It happens all the time. So that's all I'm saying here. All right, I hope you can get this and understand this message. There was one more point I was gonna make about this, but I can't think of it now. So I think I've beaten this horse is fucking beaten. All right, so check it out. Check out what I said. You know, you can check out the original video. You know, and if you've watched this far, then I salute you, because you have a real interest in improving yourself. And I hope this makes things really, really clear. And again, just to make one last final point, you're still welcome to disagree with me. Totally cool. But try out shit in your own life. Don't take some PhD's word for it or some fucking study or some bullshit about that. Try it out and give it a real sincere effort, because you owe that to yourself. All right, and oh yeah, I remember my last point. I want to address you self-identified extroverts real quick here, because I'm addressing the self-identified introverts because that's where most of you are. You're computer programmers, dude. I get it, okay? So you're more over there. But some of you are and have another problem, which is that you're so self-identified extroverts. You got to be the fucking life of the party. You got to go out party. A lot of people that are on this side of the spectrum, right? They're less successful in life. Why? Because they're out fucking doing drugs. They're out fucking partying every time. They feel like their identity and their life is wrapped around gaining energy from being out and being with other people, and they just go nonstop, and they never have the alone time, and they wear themselves ragged, and they feel like they have to live up to the social pressures of everyone and be the life of the party, and there's immense pressure there. You need to, if you're there, which less of you are there, you need to, like, read a fucking book, dude. Like, seriously, sit down, meditate. Seriously, go into yourself and self-reflect a little bit and figure out, like, how you can gain some benefit from some alone time and recharging, and not always having to go out. And start turning down some invitations. Start learning how to commune with yourself. Right? If this were a different channel, if this were a different audience, that would be my target message, because that would be more beneficial to you. But there's a lot of you that are on that side, and you need to learn how to spend a lot of alone time and communion with yourself. And I've gone on both sides of this, and I've gone too far on this side, and I've had to learn how to reconnect with myself and how to be alone with myself and enjoy being alone with myself. All right, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to do more time on this video because my camera's flashing saying, John, you're up. All right, that's it. If you like this video, click the subscribe button. If you don't, you're just like, fuck, John, this is the end. We're ending our relationship. Click on subscribe. Talk to you next time. Take care.